Good day, folks. I hope you've had a chance to watch one of the episodes in this playlist where we talked about the package administration in Solaris 11. You would remember that the packages for Solaris 11 is located in a depot server or an IPS repository, and we download and install that package from the repository. The default image packaging system repository is pkg.oracle.com/solaris/release. When we looked at the package administration part 1 in this playlist, we used the default repository, which was pkg.oracle.com/solaris/release. But oftentimes you will be in a site which may not permit you to get these packages from the outside world or the internet. For security reason, you might not be able to connect to the outside world to download these packages. It is also important to note that the performance of this package download and installation would largely depend on the kind of connectivity that you have if you decide to download it from the default repository. So it's a common requirement to have a package repository or an image packaging system server set up in your local site rather than relying on the default site, which is pkg.oracle.com/solaris/release. So in this episode, we will look at how you could set up a local repository, a local image packaging system repository in your site, so that the machines that exist in your site downloads and install the package from the local site rather than having to go to the outside world, having to go over a WAN to download it from the Oracle website. Now, before I get on with the commands that you would use to set up one of your Solaris boxes as a local repository, of course, it's mandatory to have a Solaris 11 box to be configured as a package repository. It doesn't really matter whether you have a Spark architecture or a x86 architecture, but it's important that you set up the local repository, the package system repository, on a Solaris 11 box. That's the prerequisite. You can download this repository from the Oracle website. So I'm pulling up my browser here. I've already navigated to the location where you could download the repository image. Once you accept the license, you will be able to download the repository images, which is split into 5 files, and that's purely for the convenience of downloading smaller files than having to download a very large file. You will have to download all of these files, and it's also important that you verify the checksum after the download is done, making sure that your file is not corrupted in the download process. A lot of things have been made easy from Solaris 11.2 onwards. When it was Solaris 11.0, you had to do a lot of stuff by hand, such as stitching these 5 or 4 split files. Actually, in 11.0 it was only a couple of files, so you had to stitch those couple of files, use the LOFI ADM command to mount the file system, and then copy the content of that onto a ZFS file system. Those steps had to be done by hand in Solaris 11.0. A lot of things changed from 11.1 and subsequently onto 11.2 and now on 11.3 as well. You have a script which is install-repo.ksh, which is a Korn shell script, as is indicated by the extension there. You could just run this script, and the stitching of these files, copying the content of these files onto a local ZFS file system, all of them is going to be done in a single stroke when you do this. So if you want to set up a local image packaging system repository, please make sure you have a Solaris 11 box with sufficient disk space. Download these 5 files, download the MD5 checksum also to make sure that you have downloaded the actual files and you haven't corrupted those files in the download process. And then you also need the Korn shell script that can be used to use as a single script, single command to stitch these files together, mount these files onto a local mount point, and copy the content of these files, copy the content of the directory onto a local ZFS file system. So we will see all of that in action. But of course, the first step is to have all these files downloaded and kept onto a local Solaris 11 box with sufficient disk space. I just want to also point out the VirtualBox configuration here. There are two virtual machines running for me in this demonstration. One is a virtual machine that was installed using the live media, and the other one is a virtual machine that was installed using the text media. Both of them are in running state. I can just go to the S11 desktop here and show you that the networking is NATing for adapter 1, that was to gain access to the outside world through the host machine, which is Ubuntu in my case. For this demonstration, I have also enabled adapter 2, which happens to be net 1 in Solaris 11, and that is going to be an internal network. Now this is to make sure that my Solaris 11 desktop is able to communicate with the text-based installation of Solaris 11, because my desktop is going to act as a client for the IPS repository. So the plan is my S11-text, which is based on the text installer, is going to be set up as a local image packaging system repository, and my S11-desktop, which is basically a live media installation, is going to act as a client. So my client would perform the package installation from my S11-text, which is going to be set up as a local repository there. One additional point I want to highlight here is, if you go to the settings of S11 text, I have added a shared folder from my host machine. Remember, my host machine is Ubuntu operating system, and I have all the Solaris related binaries and packages downloaded under my software's Solaris directory, and I have shared that with my guest machine with my Solaris 11 text installation. For this feature to work in VirtualBox, you are expected to install VirtualBox guest editions. It's simple. In fact, if you go to the devices here, you could actually use insert guest editions CD image. In case if the guest edition CD image is not downloaded, it'll ask you whether you would like to download it. Once the download is done, this image is going to be mounted automatically. So if I use a mount command, you can see the media VBox editions there mounted. I can navigate to that and I can install the package. It's the VBox Solaris editions.pkg. I can run the command pkg add -d dot VBox Solaris editions.package, and it will install the guest editions. As soon as it is installed, as soon as the guest editions are installed, you will be able to see those directory namespaces that are shared from the host machine. I have already done the installation of these guest editions, but I just wanted to point out this to you, just in case if you are planning to use VirtualBox as your virtualization solution and would like to have some directories from the host machine shared onto the virtual machines, then it's important that you install the VirtualBox guest editions onto the Solaris OS. So now that we have a fair understanding of the environment, our next step of course is to go ahead and set up an image packaging system on my S11 server, which is the text-based installation. So that I don't have to navigate across different terminals and spoil the viewing pleasure, I'm going to use only one machine, and probably I would do a remote connection from this machine to my S11 server. Before I do that, I just wanted to show you the list of IP addresses that I have. You would remember one of the adapters is using network address translation for my desktop based Solaris 11. I could connect to the outside world because of this specific IP address. The second adapter of my live media installation is an internal network, and I have mentioned the IP address statically here. Again, the commands that are used to set up an IP address statically, all those will be discussed in a separate episode. I have done this already here. Now the point is, I want to try out whether I am able to ping my server. So that's 168.0.100, which is my S11 text server, and that happens to be alive. I could try doing an SSH to that 192.168.0.100. It prompts me for a password, and I supply the password of the user there. I have logged in. So this is my S11 server. Let me come out of it onto the live media. In the etc host file of this machine, I have also created a mapping for the IP address, which means I don't necessarily have to use my IP address of the server. I could actually use S11-server host name while connecting to that remote machine. So I hope the environment is pretty clear. My image packaging system repository is going to be configured in the S11-server, and I'm going to do that from my client machine, which is actually Solaris box. So let's do an SSH again. SSH, the username at S11-server. Since there is an entry in the etc host file, this is going to let me using the host name, and I say Oracle1 as the password I'm in. Again, for the sake of convenience, let me switch the user to the root account, not a recommended option, because it's always dangerous when you are on the hash prompt all the time. So it's recommended that you stay as a simple user and switch user to the root only when there is a real need for it. But since I'm doing a demonstration and in the interest of time and convenience, I'm always as a root user on this machine. Let me also point out to you file system here, let's say df-h. One of the file systems that is of interest to us, again this is ZFS file system. In case if you're not familiar with the ZFS file system, we could take a look at it at a separate in a separate episode. But all I want you to know here is that there is actually a ZFS file system with a mount point export IPS. Now that's empty at this stage. We can confirm that if I go into the export IPS, there is nothing inside that. I can verify that it's actually a dedicated file system. So it has around 52 GB available, probably good enough to hold the entire image packaging system repository there. So I'm going to use export IPS as the target location for my image packaging system repository. You have to keep in mind that the target file system for an IPS repository is desired to be in a ZFS file system. It's always recommended that you use the ZFS file system as the destination directory to copy the repository files from the files that you have downloaded. Let me also show you that under the MNT directory, there are a number of binaries and files that I've downloaded from the Oracle website. All of these are related to the Solaris 11.3 version. I have a file that corresponds to the automated install live media. There is a unified archive file for OpenStack, and as you can see, we looked at the website some time back. There are 5 files that corresponds to the repository. I don't have the Conch shell script here, so I would probably download that and keep the Conch shell script also, so that I could use that Conch shell script to perform the repository stitching there. So I hope the files are available for us. Now what is pending is the Conch shell script, which we will download in a minute, and then we will get going. So let me go to the Oracle website there, accept the license and download the install repo Conch shell script. That's the file. So I could probably use a right click there and download it. Let's download this file. So that's where I want to download. That's install-repo.ksh. And since this directory is already shared, let's go and verify that the Conch shell script is now available under the directory where all the package files are located. Alright, so we have the script as well. So let's make sure we set the install bit to on for the install-repo.ksh. Now is a time to copy the files, but want to make sure that export IPS is a file system that has no files inside it, And now I'm going to run the script install -repo.ksh -d, the destination folder where you would like to copy. By the way, I'm assuming that all the package files, all the files related to the IPS repository, that is 1 of 5, 2 of 5, are located in the current directory from where I'm running the script. If your script is elsewhere and you would like to point to a different directory where the IPS files are located, you could use a different option like -yes to specify the source. But since my script is in the same directory as that of those 5 files that represents the package, I don't have to specify the source where the package files are located. So that's export IPS, and this is actually going to take some time. So good time for you to probably take a break, and by the time you come back, our image packaging system repository, the local repository, would be ready under the export IPS directory. Okay, so after a rather long wait, looks like the repository image files have been copied to the destination directory, which is export IPS. We can confirm that. Let's go to export IPS. As you can see, there are some files in there. So looks like we are ready to go. But then when the clients contact the image packaging system repository, the image packaging system repository should be running a service so that it can respond to the requests coming in from the clients. We already had a look at service management facility briefly in another episode of Solaris 11, and we know that we could list all the services by using the svcs command. So what we will do now is to list a service, a specific service called pkg/server, which is a service that should be enabled and running on a PKG repository, on an IPS repository, so that it can start responding back to the clients when the clients attempts to download and install a package from this server. It's not enabled. We can try enabling this. One of the things we missed out while discussing the service management facility is that for every single service that exists in Solaris 11, there is a corresponding log file. So what we will do is we'll open another terminal here, and let's do an SSH to our S11-server one more time. We'll have one more session opened on our terminal. We will su to the root, and then we will go to a specific directory called var svc/log. Now this is a directory that has one log file each for the service that exists in Solaris 11. So for every service management facility service that exists in Solaris 11, there is a corresponding log file, and interestingly this log file has a naming convention that is in line with the directory structure we observed in the SMF episode. So if you haven't seen the segment around service management facility, I strongly encourage you watch that. Now the one service that we are interested in now is application pkg server default. So there must be a log file specifically for that. We would clear the screen and do a tail -f application-pkg-repository. Is that the one? Let's verify that. It's actually pkg-server. So let's pick up the right file. That's server. So currently there is no log file related to the same. That's because the service is not enabled. Let's go ahead and enable the service. And I'm suspecting that the service is not going to start properly. We will find the reason for that very soon. But it's likely that when I attempt to start the service would go into a maintenance mode rather than onto an online state. So let's start the service. You would recall from the SMF chapter that svc-adm enable pkg/server is what you could use to enable the pkg/server service. Let's verify by running the command again, svcs pkg/server, to see what is the state of the service. I think we predicted it well. The service has not come online. It's in maintenance state. Now we need to identify what is the reason behind this. Let's go back to the other terminal, run the tail command again, this time around pkg-server. Now there is a log file that got generated for that specific service because we attempted to start that service. Let's do a tail. Probably the tail command may not give us, it does give us an information that says, the service is trying to look for the packages under a directory called var pkg repo, and that directory does not contain any IPS packages. So by default, the pkg/server IPS repository attempts to look for the IPS package, under a directory called var pkg repo, which is not where our packages are located. We have copied the image packaging system files, the repository files, to a directory called export IPS. So it's important now that we modify the service property to point to the destination directory we have used to dump the packages. Now, there is a command called svcprop, which we didn't have a look at in our service management facility episode. This svcprop is to list all the properties of a specific service. We could do this by looking at the XML file of the package. We could also do this by going into the repository by using the svccfg command, which is what we looked at in the previous episode around SMF. But here we are using an svcprop command, pkg/server. Now when you look at this, there are plenty of properties associated with it. There are many properties associated with this service. Now we are interested in one property that has a value var pkg repo, and the name of the property is inst_root. Now I think it is self-explanatory. This is a property of the service pkg/server, which tells the service where the packages are, and the default value for that is var pkg repo. When we attempted to start this service, it looked for those packages under var pkg repo. It didn't find any package, so it basically gave an error and went into a maintenance mode. So we need to change this value now. Change the value of the property inst_root to export/IPS, which is where our packages are located. So let's not waste any more time. We'll clear the screen and say, so let's one more time, svcprop pkg/server. I'm looking for a specific property called inst_root. Currently that's pointing to var pkg repo. We would like to modify this to a different directory location, which is export IPS in our case, because that's where we have dumped the packages. So let's do this. Now we are expected to change the value of the inst_root to export IPS, and we do that by using a command called svccfg. You will remember svccfg is one of the commands we looked at in the service management facility episode, and when we did that, we used the command in an interactive mode. We used svccfg, and it helped us go into the database, and then we used commands like list, select to navigate through the repository to find out the properties of services that we were interested in. In here, we will use the svccfg command in non-interactive mode. So that's svccfg -yes. The name of the service that we are interested in is pkg/server. Set prop. What is the property that I want to set? pkg/inst_root, and the value that I want to set for that property is /export/IPS. Now we can verify this one more time to see if the package has been changed. Actually not, because we modified the memory copy of this. So if we want to make these changes commit, we would need to run the command svcadm refresh pkg/server, and now if we run the command, you can see that the value of the pkg_inst root is changed to the directory location where we have copied the packages to. Let's find out the status of this service pkg/server. It's still in maintenance mode. Now any service that's in maintenance mode, if you want to bring online, there is a command svcadm clear pkg/server, and now if you run svcs pkg/server, you can actually see that the service is online. So we now have the image packaging system, or the depot server, or a local repository set up on our S11-server. Now what is important is to have this machine contact the local IPS repository instead of going into the default repository on the Oracle website. So let's use an old command which we might be familiar with from an earlier episode, pkg publisher. So as you can see, the pkg publisher is pointing towards the pkg.oracle.com/solaris/release. I would like to point that to the local repository that we have configured, and for that the command would be pkg set-publisher replace the current URL, which is pkg.oracle.com/solaris/release with a new URL, and that's http://192.168.0.100. Since I don't know if I have set the host name to IP address mapping for this local machine, I would use the IP address to be on the safe side, and the name of the publisher is Solaris. So let's see what happens now. As you can see, it's refreshing the catalog. One important command that we are expected to run is pkg repo refresh -yes /export/IPS. Whenever you add new packages into a repository or whenever you initialize a repository, it's important we run this command to refresh the catalog of that repository. So looks like it is all set. Let's now find out if we can search for a package from the repository there. It's going to fetch the package from the local repository, which is 192.168.0.100. Let's install the package, install AppTrace. You remember we could do a dry run installation also if you want, and you can see that this is downloading the AppTrace package from the local repository. It's not going into the pkg.oracle.com/solaris/release. We can actually do the same thing on, it's a bit faster because it doesn't have to go to the van to download this package and install the package from Oracle website. Instead, it's downloading from the local machine. Let's go back to our desktop machine as well. We'll do exit out of this. Exit, and we're back on the client machine. Let's assume the role of a root user here and find out what is the publisher. That's also a default publisher. Let's change that pkg set hyphen, or maybe before we do that, let's ping S11 server to see if we are able to contact the S11 server, which is currently the local repository for us. So we'll say pkg set publisher -G, replace everything. I mean, use this cautiously because it will replace all the existing publishers. Currently I have only one, so using asterisk won't make any difference. -G http://s11 server, and then the publisher name is Solaris. It's actually going to set the publisher to the local repository pkg publisher, and the command will show me that the publisher is S11 server. Let's find out if I have a package called diffstat on this machine. Diffstat is actually installed on this machine, or maybe we'll try something else. Maybe we will try a package pkg info-r tomcat and see if we have a package there. Let's see if the package is available locally. It's not there. Let's install the package pkg install tomcat. So it's actually contacting the local IPS repository that we set up some time back, and it's picking up the packages from there, installing the packages on this machine. As you can see, that was quite fast as opposed to what you might have seen if we had used the default repository, which is the Oracle website repository. It had to go to van to download those packages. Now it was all happening within the site itself, so that was relatively fast. So in this episode, what we observed was we could download the repository images from the Oracle website, and there is a school Corn shell script that could be used to actually combine those split files and then start extracting those files into an SRFS destination file system, which in our case was export IPS. And then we modify one service, one SMF service, which is pkg/server, changed the inst_root property of that service to point to the export IPS directory where we had dumped the package. And then on the client machines, we had to change the publisher. We pointed the client machines to contact the new publisher, which happened to be the local repository, and bingo, everything just worked. So I hope now we have some understanding on the package administration in Solaris 11, both the client commands that you use to administer the packages, as well as how to set up an image packaging system repository locally on your site. I want to thank you. I want to thank you again for taking time to watch this episode, and I hope to see you soon.